From Cicada Seed America, we have this wonderful series of experimental begonias in the program this year. This particular group is, there are 5 cultivars, and they're under numbers, so we can't name them at this time. But they have the really large floret size, and they also have this wonderful habit. And this was partly introduced by our pinching the liners when they came in for potting. So we did that very early on in production, and it encouraged the branching that you see here. And what a wonderful array of blooms. These are really exceptional. In the shade, these begonias are doing really well as they are in the sun, but there's a little less flowering going on here. On the other hand, the foliage has grown a little bit taller than it was out in the sun. Great green foliage, blemish-free, strong colors, good bloomers. Really a wonderful line. I congratulate Cicada on this wonderful group of begonias.
So for begonias this year, we don't have a whole lot of different entries that are in both sun and shade, but a couple of series that are doing really fantastically are from Beacon Camp. For those of you who tuned into the Virtual Flower Trials program, you may have seen what these looked like a few weeks ago, but a whole bunch of the members of the BK collection are just doing fantastic. We've had some pretty brutal heat and some wetness since we filmed for the Virtual Flower Trials. So some of the flowers are getting a little spent at this point, but there's still a lot of flower power on all these. They're still maintaining this really nice, vigorous mounding habit. And then we also have a bunch of the Solenia series are still performing fantastically. Bright, crisp colors, just wonderful performers. And over here in the shade, these Beacon Camp Solenia series begonias are doing just fabulously. You know, they were still performing quite well out in the sun, getting a little bit burnt out, understandably, because again, we've had weather in the upper 90s and some pretty brutal rain when it's come through, but having a little bit more sheltering from the shade cloth and a little bit less of that intense sun, because again, we're under 50% shade here in the shade structure. These Solenias are still just looking fantastic. Excellent color, great tight clumping habit, as well as the other members of the BK collection behind me here. Just fantastic performers. So if you're looking for some really good color for a long portion of the summer, the Solenia series and the BK collection are both stellar options for part sun, part shade, or shady areas in your yard or on a patio.
So I'm standing here in front of our Beacon Impatiens from Pan American Seed, a new introduction of the last 2 years. It's so wonderful to be able to have Impatiens out in the landscape again that are resistant to downy mildew. We have good flower power, nice compact mounding habit, and a variety of shades. A couple of my favorites, this rose and the salmon and the white, are doing fabulously. All right, so those of you who tuned in to our Virtual Flower Trials event or maybe have perused our website will remember that we have a lot of SunPatiens entered into our trials this year, but we actually only have 2 that are entered into the sun versus and shade category, so we can see how they perform. From Cicada Seeds, we have Compact Rose Glow and Compact Hot Pink, and honestly, they're both wonderful performers, really great mounding habit, and would look excellent on their own or in combos. So over here in the shade house, highlighting some Beacon Impatiens from Pan American Seed. Like their cousins out in the sun, these are performing really well. Actually, I think they're performing a little bit better. A lot larger plant. They're actually treated all the same fertilizer, same soil and everything, but they just seem to be a little bit happier here in the shade. And one thing to mention is we do interspecies with traditional super elfin impatiens, the ones that will generally go down with downy mildew, and we don't see any evidence of downy mildew yet at all this year, but stay tuned because we might be able to highlight that later. So over here in the shade house, we have these wonderful Cicada SunPatiens that we highlighted out in the sun. And honestly, I think that they're performing really, really well. This Rose Glow and Hot Pink, both are good performers, great mounding habits. But I think that the colors are a little bit more richer and intenser here in the shade house, but definitely a great performer for sun or shade.
From Ball Flora Plant, we have these lovely Coleus, and they're both in sun and shade. This is Heartbreaker out here, and Dragonheart over on my right, which are really nice, larger cultivars than the Flamethrowers, which are also from Ball. And one thing that you probably notice in these two larger forms is there's a slight bit of bleaching going on in the leaves once they've fully expanded, and that's an effect of the sun. The Flamethrower series are more compact. They have a very nice habit, especially this Cajun Spice, which is really short. And also over here we have the Salsa Verde, which is a rather compact one. These other three are a little bigger, but they're all very nice plants. They do very well in both locations, and they're a little shorter out here in the sun. Really nice Coleus from Ball, also doing very well in the shade. This is Dragonheart and Heartbreaker again. And what's intriguing to me about these plants here in the shade position is there's not the foliar bleaching that was going on out in full sun. So that's an artistic decision, a garden decision as to where you would place them. But I think they're doing very, very well here in the shade. And here in the shade, Ball's Flamethrower series is doing just as well as out in the sun. Again, plants are a little bit taller, but the colors are also a little bit stronger. And so that's a benefit if you're growing them in the shade. Cajun Spice, Habanero, Salsa Roja, and one that's really a bright green, this Salsa Verde. And then these two. And you have the more modest sized one and the larger one. This is Serrano, and that's Sriracha. So a lot of choice for gardens and also for customer sales.
So we actually only have one combination planter in sun and shade this season, and it's this wonderful MixMasters Pico de Gallo from Ball Floor Plant. And you know, it's performing so well in the sun here in our pots and in our basket. It's just a showstopper. I think it's a really good plant for you know, porches, patios, and things like that. So over here in the shade section of our combo house, as we like to call it, I'm highlighting this MixMasters Pico de Gallo again, and you know, they're about 30 foot between the sun ones and the shade ones, and these are just monstrous. They are very large. Something to note though, we do put 3 plugs in one 16-inch pot, and same as in our basket. But you know, I just think this is a great performer in sun and shade, or even dappled shade. You know, just a winner in my book.
And one of my favorite foliage plants on the market, Caladium. We've got some excellent entries from classic Caladiums this year, but there's only 2 cultivars that we're testing in shade. The one in the front here, Hot to Trot, this beautiful deep red center and a nice darker green leaf margin. And then Xplosion here in the back, this kind of tricolor green, kind of a pale creamy color with some red venation in the middle of the leaf. Just stunning, stunning plants. Out in the sun here, they're both definitely a bit more compact than they are in the shade. So let's go take a look at those ones. And over here in the shade, our Hot to Trot and our Xplosion Caladiums are also looking fantastic. The Xplosion is still actually really quite compact, even in the shade, under 50% shade cloth. But this Hot to Trot is definitely a little bit taller. So if you have, under 50% shade or in maybe an even shadier area, you'll probably get a bit more height on these. But again, they're both looking fantastic. Full sun and 50% shade. So in a combo pot, as sort of that center thriller component, or even just on their own in their own planter, maybe do a couple color combinations. These are definitely winners. So well done, classic Caladiums.